her head weakly. "You will drink," he cut her off, his voice stern but tender, tilting the glass until the cool water touched her mouth. Her trembling lips parted, and she swallowed a few sips before pushing it away. He set the glass down, then lowered himself on his knees before her, so she didn't have to look up. His large hands cupped her cheeks, thumbs brushing away her endless tears. "Now tell me." His voice was calm, but the storm in his eyes betrayed him. "What happened here, to you, to my son?" At the mention of son, she broke again, her sobs echoing in the silence of the room. She pressed her palms to her face, shaking. Taehyung's voice softened as he gently pulled her hands down. "Don't hide from me, please. I need to know everything." She leaned into his touch, her tears wetting his palms. Her voice was broken, trembling as the words tumbled out. I found out I was pregnant just days before that news came. I was going to surprise you. I thought you'd smile. For the first time, I had something of yours, of ours." She touched his face with a shaking hand, her fingers trailing over his jaw as if to prove he was real. "But then the news came. They said you were dead." And everything shattered. Her voice cracked, but she kept going, the pain spilling free. "They tolerated me at first, then your parents. They made me a maid in this house, your wife, Taehyung. I scrubbed floors for a chance to keep your child safe inside me." She cried harder. "They sent me to every appointment, yes. But only because he was the last piece of you, not for me, never for me." Taehyung's jaw flexed, his teeth grinding. His fingers twitched against her cheeks as the veins in his neck bulged. But he stayed silent, listening. She swallowed hard, her words tumbling faster, broken by sobs. "Then Minji, your sister, she found out she can't have children. Suddenly she became nice to nice. I didn't understand. Not until I gave birth." Her hand pressed over her chest, her nails digging into her skin. "I held him, Taehyung. I held our son for 4 weeks. He was so small, so perfect. Then her voice cracked into a scream muffled by sobs. "They took him from me. Your family, they tore him from my arms like I was nothing." Her tears blurred everything, but she forced herself to look at him. "They said if I wanted to see him, I had to earn it." A mother earning her right to see her child for 5 minutes a week. Like a criminal, she broke completely, crying into her hands. For a long moment, there was silence. Then Taehyung's body stiffened. His jaw was clenched so hard his teeth ached. His chest rose and fell with heavy, dangerous breaths. His eyes, once warm brown, now glowed red with fury. His voice was low, gravelly, almost inhuman. "Made you a maid in my house." His nostrils flared. "They took my son from his mother." The veins in his hands bulged as he gripped the edge of the bed. He shut his eyes for a moment, fighting the murderous rage clawing at him, then opened them again, sharp, bloodshot, burning. "No one," he growled, his voice trembling with rage. "No one touches my queen. No one takes my blood." Through her tears, whispered Tae. He reached for her hands, kissing them one by one, his lips lingering as his shoulders shook with fury. "You suffered because of me. You cried because I wasn't here. But I'm back now and I swear," his voice dropped to a lethal whisper, "I will burn this house to ashes before I let them keep my son from you again." The Kim mansion was quiet, the night heavy with silence. Mr. and Mrs. Kim were in their room, Minji and Yujin in theirs, the staff tucked away. Everyone was unaware that the storm they thought had died years ago was about to strike their very walls. A sudden bang tore through the stillness, a gunshot. From the grand staircase, the chandelier trembled violently before crashing to the marble floor, exploding into glittering shards that scattered like broken stars. The deafening sound shook the mansion awake, and there he was. KIMTAEHYUNG descended the staircase, slow, deliberate, his wife's hand clasped tightly in his. His aura was darker than shadow, his presence heavier than death itself. With every step, The click of his shoes echoed like a warning. He reached the bottom and moved to the center of the living room. He sat down on the wide couch like a king reclaiming his throne. Legs spread, one arm draped casually, the other hand still gripping it like he would never let her go again. The staff and the family rushed in, their faces pale with fear. Minji clutched the baby in her arms, Taehyung crying from the commotion. Yujin stumbled behind her. Wide-eyed, Mr. and Mrs. Kim came in their sleeping clothes, their jaws dropping, breath catching. Taehyung, Mrs. Kim gasped, her hand over her mouth. Our son. Taehyung, Mr. Kim's voice broke with shock, almost relief, as he stepped forward. But Taehyung raised his hand lazily, palm out, stopping them cold. His eyes didn't even flicker toward his parents. His gaze locked instead on Minji. Minji froze, trembling as Taehyung's eyes slid down to the bundle in her arms, his son, his heir. In Taehyung's deep voice rumbled, each word sharp and slow, "Go get your son." In's breath hitched. For a moment, Minji's grip on Taehyung tightened. Taehyung. We were only before she could finish. Taehyung slammed his gun onto the glass table with a violent bang. The sound cracked through the room like thunder, making everyone flinch. The unspoken warning was enough. Minji's face drained of color. Her hands trembled as she reluctantly loosened her hold, the baby's cries louder in the tense silence. In rushed forward, her arms outstretched. My baby. Her voice broke as she took Taehyung into her arms, hugging him tight against her chest. Tears streamed down her face as she kissed his tiny cheeks over and over, whispering his name like a prayer. She walked back to Taehyung, clutching their son, her entire body trembling with relief. Taehyung's gaze softened for only a moment as he watched her. Then, with eyes glowing red with fury, he leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. His voice was deadly calm. Look carefully, he said, his gaze sweeping across Minji, Yujin, and his parents. This is the last time my wife will ever have to ask to hold her own child. The last time she will cry in this house. He tilted his head slightly, his jaw clenching. From now on, KIMTAEHYUNG decides who breathes in this family. And anyone who dares touch what's mine. His eyes flicked to the gun on the table. Will be dealt with. In sat beside him again, cradling Taehyung against her heart, her free hand still intertwined with his. The Mafia King had returned, and this time, he was not forgiving. The living room was a ring of stunned faces. Minji clutched, tears streaking her cheeks to practiced, to perfect. Yujin hovered behind her, useless and pale. Mr. and Mrs. Kim looked as if the floor had dropped from beneath them. Mrs. Kim's voice trembled, brittle with accusation. We heard she was in contact with her ex-fiancé, Sunhoo. She shouldn't have been with him after everything. If he was involved with her, he should have killed her, not secretly saved her. The room filled with a hum of shocked whispers. Mr. Kim opened his mouth, then closed it. Minji's sobs turned into sharp gasps of outrage. She lied. She wanted this child to belong to us. She hugged Taehyung to her chest. The baby, warm and small, slept peacefully against her heartbeat. In's voice was low but steady, ironed by pain. Sunhoo saved my life. He is a doctor. He helped me when I was bleeding. He did not involve himself. He saved me. If anyone lied, it's you. Taehyung watched the exchange like a coiled animal. His gaze cut through her. You snatched my son from his mother, he said, voice quiet and lethal. You took him by force. Minji's performance faltered. Then she threw herself into it harder. I'm infertile, she cried, voice shaking with practiced hurt. I wanted to be a mother. Why shouldn't I have a child? Don't you understand what I've lost? Taehyung's eyes narrowed until they were only dark moons. He stepped forward, the room shrinking around his presence. Maybe you didn't deserve to be a mother, he said without raising his voice, each word a blade. You couldn't carry your own child, so you decided to take another woman's. His jaw tightened. Is that motherhood to you, making someone else go through hell while you claim the prize? Silence crashed like a wave. Even Yoojin's throat bobbed. Minji's mascara blurred as her act faltered. "Sir," a voice snapped from the doorway. Yoonhoo, Taehyung's assistant, had slipped in, breathless, tablet in hand. He looked small under Taehyung's storm. "I blocked the offshore transfers like you asked. The accounts are frozen. No funds move out." Taehyung's face was an unreadable mask for a heartbeat. Then he turned his head slowly to look at his parents. "You were supposed to protect my wife in my absence," he said, each syllable aimed straight at them. "Instead, you made her suffer. You turned my home into her prison. You made her earn 5 minutes with our child." Mrs. Kim could only whisper, "Taehyung, you failed," he cut in softly, toothily. "And for that, there are consequences." He tapped the table with the heels of his hands once. The sound was small. The impact was enormous. Yoonhoo confirm, freeze the Kim's accounts, revoke company privileges tied to the family, move assets into secured holding under my name, and pack their things. His voice was calm, the calm of a man ready to unleash ruin. "They are no longer welcome in my home." Mr. Kim staggered as if struck. "Taehyung, you can't. These are your parents." "They were supposed to be my parents," Taehyung said, and for the first time his voice broke a little. He looked at Taehyung in her arms, and the shell of his control melted into a savage protectiveness. "But they betrayed my wife. They betrayed my son." "You will leave." Minji's sobs turned frantic. "You can't do this. Please." Taehyung rose, the couch creaking under him. He did not raise his voice, did not escalate. The power was in the silence now. He crossed to and wrapped an arm around her shoulders, steadying her as if she might tumble away. With his free hand he stroked Taehyung's tiny back once, reverent and fierce. "Get the cars," he told Yoonhoo. "Help them pack, escort them out. I don't want them within 50 miles of this house." Yoonhoo inclined his head and moved, efficient and robotic. The Kim scrambled, angry, pleading, collapsed into disbelief. Mrs. Kim tried another plea, voice shrill and small. "Taehyung, think this will ruin the family name." Taehyung's laugh was a dry thing. "The family name," he repeated. "This family almost destroyed the only thing that could keep that name alive. You chose your pride over the life of your grandson. Pack, leave. This house belongs to my wife and my son." In pressed her forehead to Taehyung's chest, the first real weight of safety she had felt in months, pulling into relief and trembling sobs. He tightened his hold, inhaling her scent, tasting the air of his home reclaimed. Minji's cries turned to screams as the staff began to clear rooms. Yoojin stood frozen, impotent. Mr. and Mrs. Kim watched their legacy evacuate their own mansion at their son's command, powerless, humiliated, and suddenly very human. Taehyung watched them go with a face like stone. When the last car rolled away into the night, he sat back down, and Taehyung folded into him like fragile treasures. "From now on," he murmured, almost to himself, "you are mine. I will keep you both. No one else will ever touch what's mine again." In looked up through blurred eyes, and in the hush that followed, Taehyung let out a tiny, sleepy cry, small, holy, and entirely theirs. The grand doors of the Kim mansion were flung open. Staff hurried like ghosts, carrying suitcases, pulling boxes down the long hall. The sound of zippers, footsteps, and whispered orders filled the air like a funeral march. In the center of the living room sat Taehyung, legs spread, back against the couch, one arm around his shoulders, the other resting on Taehyung's tiny back. The baby slept in his mother's arms, his breath soft and even, unaware of the storm around him. Across the room, Mr. and Mrs. Kim stood pale and trembling. Minji clung to Yoojin's arm, her face streaked with tears. They were stripped of their silk robes and titles now, just a family caught in the headlights of their own cruelty. "Taehyung, please," Mrs. Kim's voice cracked, sharp with desperation. "You can't throw us out. We're your parents. We raised you. We gave you everything." Taehyung didn't even blink. His eyes stayed fixed on the baby in his arms, as if they were the only two people in the room. Mr. Kim stepped forward. Son, listen to reason. Whatever happened, Taehyung raised a hand. The room went silent, even the staff froze. His voice when it came was quiet, but it sliced through the air. Reason, I buried Reason the day you made my wife a maid. I buried Reason the day you made her earn 5 minutes with my son. His gaze flicked up, finally locking onto theirs. You are not my parents. You are the people who tried to destroy my family. Minji's thoughts grew louder. She stumbled forward, kneeling, clutching at the hem of his trousers. Appa, please, I just wanted a baby. I can't have one. I was desperate, I thought. Taehyung moved his leg back, freeing himself from her grip. His eyes were ice. Desperation is no excuse for cruelty. You took a mother's child and called it love. You don't deserve the word mother. Mrs. Kim tried again, her voice cracking. She is your sister. Taehyung's head tilted, his jaw tightening. So, blood doesn't absolve monsters. She is infertile, so she decided to steal another woman's child. She can't bear a baby, so In must suffer. Why, what did In do to you? Silence fell, thick and shaming. No one answered. Taehyung's gaze slid to Yoonho. Are they packed? Yes, sir, Yoonho said quietly. The accounts are frozen. Cars are ready. Taehyung nodded once. Take them out. None of them are welcome here again. Minji let out a broken sob. Appa, please, don't do this to me. I'll give him back. I'll leave. I'll do anything. You already did everything, Taehyung said softly, not even looking at her. You took my son from his mother. You broke my wife. You don't get another chance. Yoojin spoke up for the first time, his voice shaking. Hyung, she's your sister. She's your wife. Taehyung cut in. Go with her. Two guards stepped forward, pulling Minji and Yoojin to their feet. Mr. and Mrs. Kim reached out weakly as if they could stop it, but the guards only bowed slightly and began leading them toward the door. Taehyung, Mrs. Kim cried, tears streaming. Don't do this. We're your family. You stopped being my family the moment you stopped protecting mine, he said. His tone was flat, final, deaf to their pleas. The great doors opened. The cold night air rushed in. The Kims stumbled out one by one, their cries echoing into the darkness. Inside, the mansion fell quiet. Taehyung exhaled slowly and turned to In. She was holding Taewoo close, tears on her cheeks but relief trembling through her body. He brushed his thumb across her knuckles, grounding her. It's over, he murmured. No one will ever take him from you again. For the first time in months, she believed it. The golden light of dawn slipped into the room, soft and warm. In slept like someone who hadn't closed her eyes in years, her breath steady, her last brushing against her cheeks. She was nestled between her two treasures, her husband and her son. Her hand rested protectively over Taewoo's tiny tummy, as if she feared he'd vanish if she let go. Taehyung stirred first. For a long moment, he just lay there watching the rise and fall of In's chest, memorizing the piece on her face. Then, careful not to wake her, he slipped out of bed and freshened up. When he returned, he heard soft cooing. Taewoo was awake, tiny fists punching the air, feet kicking like he was testing his strength. Taehyung's lips curved into a smile he didn't even know he had. He bent down, scooping his son into his arms. For a moment, the world disappeared. It was just him and this small, fragile life that carried his name, his blood. My son, he whispered, voice breaking in the quiet. His chest tightened with an emotion so raw it almost hurt. He pressed a trembling kiss to Taewoo's forehead, inhaling the baby scent that seemed to mend every crack in his heart. Then, with his child safe in his arms, he walked out into the balcony. The cool morning breeze met them, the city slowly waking below. But in Taehyung's world, everything was already alive because of his son. Back inside, In stirred awake. A smile automatically spread across her face, her hand searching the bed, but it met only sheets. No Taehyung, no Taewoo. Her smile dropped, her heart clenched. Was it all a dream? She stumbled out of bed, eyes glistening, checking the wardrobe, the washroom, anywhere. The panic rose inside her until the balcony door creaked open. Taehyung stepped in, carrying Taewoo in his arms, and froze mid-step, her breath catching. Her chest eased as reality sank in. He was here. Both of them were here. Tae noticed her teary eyes and scrunched his nose, pretending to be annoyed instead of touched. Please check his diaper. I think he did something, he said, his voice exaggerated with disgust. Laughed through her tears, rushing forward. Give him to me. She gently laid Taewoo down and changed him while Taehyung stood at a distance, one hand dramatically pinching his nose. What does he eat? Tae groaned, his expression priceless. It smells worse than sewage. Burst into laughter, her shoulders shaking. He's a baby, Tae. Yeah, a baby with a dangerous weapon, Tae muttered, stepping back like he was under attack. Shook her head, smiling wide as she finished and scooped Taewoo back into her arms. The sound of her laughter filled the room, and for the first time, the mansion felt like a real home again. The morning sunlight danced across the room, but was still trembling inside, even as she held Taewoo. Taehyung walked back to the bed, sat beside her and gently brushed a strand of hair from her face. His voice was low, almost hesitant. I need to tell you everything. Her fingers tightened around Taewoo, her heart thudding. She lifted her eyes to his. What happened, Tae? Where were you all this time? He reached out, cupping her cheek, thumb rubbing the tear-stained skin. I got shot 3 times, he said quietly, his eyes darkening with the memory. It happened so fast, I didn't even know if I'd make it. Yunho took me to a hospital in secret. We had some loopholes in our security team. If they found out I was alive, they'd have finished the job. Lips parted, trembling, shut. Tae. He nodded, his jaw tightening. They announced my death to protect me. For a year, I was in a coma. I woke up 2 weeks ago, fixed every single hole in my team, wiped out the people who tried to destroy us. And then, I came back. Her tears spilled silently. All this time, I thought you were gone. I thought you left me. His hand slid behind her neck, bringing her closer until his forehead rested against hers. I was scared scared you might have moved on. But you didn't. You were here, suffering, and I wasn't there to protect you. His voice broke. She shook her head, crying harder. Never leave me again. I can't survive without you, Tae. He kissed her forehead softly, lingering there. Never, not again. I love you, wifey, he whispered, arms wrapping around her, holding her and their baby all at once. I love you too, husband, she replied through her tears, a fragile smile appearing as she buried her face in his shoulder. For a long time, neither spoke. The only sound was Taewoo's tiny breath between them, the sound of their family's heartbeat finally in one place.